Welcome to a Friday Reads, where I talk about what I read, what I'm reading, what I hope to get to next, haul some books, talk about life, and today since you guys last saw me, I've gone on a hair journey, and I'm not going to go into it, but if you have curly hair, you know the struggle of when a product you used to use for years no longer works. So I've learned how curly hair works. Yes, I'm 29. Should I have learned this earlier? Maybe. But I'm 29. When I went to middle school, it was not about embracing the curls. It was about straightening them and getting rid of them. If you know, you know. But I'm very happy with my new routine. So I'm taking that energy because my mental health is it's a pendulum. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's bad, and I think that's just how my life's going to be until after I defend. But that does mean I have gotten some good reading in. Some days I haven't read. But we'll get into it. First, we'll talk about the two things I finished. As predicted, I finished Winter's Heart last Thursday, so before the video even went up, and I think it's a very important book. I actually don't think it's as sloggy as the other slog books, and I still hold that I had a way harder time getting through parts of books 4 through 6 than I did 7 or 8. And maybe that's just because they're inherently shorter, so it's just easier, and also now I've been training myself to listen to audiobooks, and particularly these audiobooks, I can just go. Do I miss details about the Dark Friends and the Chosen and the plots that, if I, follow everything with notes, maybe I could figure things out? Yes, I miss all of that. But in terms of big plot stuff and character moments, I can listen to those at 2.4 times speed. I'm just cruising. So, it was good. It was fine. I don't have any more thoughts other than I'm really proud of some main characters asking for other main characters for help and starting the book with a goal and finishing the book by accomplishing the goal. Go us completing an arc in one book. I'm very proud of it. And as I said last week, I didn't know what audiobook I'd pick up next. I didn't know what I was in the mood for, and I settled on listening to The Queen of Blood, and I finished it. I read that in 2 days, and the next audiobook I'm picking up, spoiler alert, is the sequel, The Reluctant Queen. Oh my goodness, is this my cozy fantasy trope stuff. And the audiobook's great. So I have been knowing about this book, but not picking it up since 2020. And I'm only picking it up for 2 reasons, but one is stronger than the other. And that is, it is the only book that will fulfill a square on my bingo board for the Reddit bingo challenge. Because it's set in a forest completely. And I'd heard good things about it, but none of it was Angela, you need to read this. This is actually everything you're feeling. I know Jessi from The Bookish Mom. We usually have a lot of overlapping tastes. She really likes it. I know Jashana really likes it. I have a lot of friends who like this series, but for some reason, I just never itched to pick it up, and what was I even thinking? It's got some wonderful, kind of average Chosen One energy. Basically, a lot of people talk about a lot of other middle grades to fulfill the Harry Potter feeling that people are missing. And for me, it's this book, because it has school settings, it has a very average Chosen One hero, it has I don't know, just grander, kind of black and white evil and good stuff. It was just fun. It was a lot of fun. I really loved our main character, who I knew wasn't a Mary Sue, but it really was great to see her, train a lot and overcome stuff. I love a good school setting. I loved the characters we were introduced to, and it's fun. It's what I'm going to be listening to while I knit my sweater. I am binging out this trilogy. And like I said, I really enjoyed the audiobooks. I'll have the narrator down in the description. I enjoyed all of the voices and all the things that happened, and I think the way that this fantasy series is written is, for me, really easy to retain with audiobook, because, although it is fantastical, nothing is, so groundbreaking. There are spirits, and they have, certain tendencies they want to create and destroy, and there are different lands within the forest, but otherwise, it's pretty self-explanatory, so fun. I was so annoyed when I could not start The Reluctant Queen right away, because there was, of course, one other person who took the audiobook out. Darn them. In terms of what I'm currently reading, I am still reading Reclaim the Stars, the new short story anthology that just came out, I believe, this week. And I'm liking it, but not loving it. I think part of that is that a lot of these are just stories that are shrunk down, which is not my favorite style of short story. I don't know if that makes sense. One of these days, I will make a short story video discussing what I do and don't like in short stories. It's just a matter of taste, though. It doesn't make these bad. And it's also the first collection I've read that is mainly young adult leaning in its short stories, which I guess I didn't know how that would feel. I read a middle grade short story collection and I loved it. That was Once Upon an Eid. It's one of my favorites of all time. I recommend it all the time. So good. But this one, it's just, nothing's bad, but nothing is super memorable or sticking with me, and I'm not super engaged while I'm reading these pretty short stories. Some of my favorite authors have written some cool stuff in here. I've gotten to see some new authors' takes, and there are some people who I'm like, well, I want to see what you do long form. But I wouldn't say this is like when I read The Paper Menagerie or Ted Chiang, where I'm like, yes, this is like a very well-crafted short story. So that hasn't happened yet, but I'm only 30-some of the percent of the way in. I'm unfortunately past all the sci-fi stories. There are like 5 sci-fi stories, and then the rest are pretty much fantasy or magical realism. So that's the thing I've carried over. Is there anything else? No, I think the rest of these are all new. So I, for some reason, well, I know why, because I finished The Vanished Birds, which has some light inspirations in terms of like tropes and elements to the Hyperion series, I decided to pick up Fall of Hyperion. So here's my copy, but I've been reading the ebook because this is where Ryan is in Fall of Hyperion. And it's really interesting. I don't think this is worse on reread, but I think I'm noticing some potential plot holes, and I don't think I'm as patient with his narrative device or writing style, but at the same time, I'm holding judgment till I finish it, but I don't think this will be a 5-star reread. I think it could be a 4 or 4.5, but I don't think it'll be a 5-star reread. I really like seeing the answers come through. Like, I'm always excited when I get answers, because this is a book where I liked because it had answers to questions. Like, if you're someone who liked the mystique of the strike, I wouldn't necessarily pick this up because, I mean, I haven't gotten to all the answers yet, but from what I can remember, we are answering questions. But it still just has some of the things I don't love, where it's like a really like, I don't know, I like weird narrative structures, right? Like, I love the Broken Earth trilogy, I love Nayla Hopkinson, I love Karen Lord. A lot of these people have narrative frameworks that are not your traditional just telling a story in third-person structure. And here it is mostly third person, but it has this narrative lens. And it's cool, but I think also really forced. And I don't like when things feel forced, because when this story shines is when we're just telling the story. Like, he doesn't shine, I think, in the narrative framing. Like, I think the weakest part of the first Hyperion is that it's a short story collection, and where he is proving he can write in multiple genres, but I don't think that added to the story for me. My favorite parts of the Hyperion story is when it was straightforward narrative. I think that's when I got to see his ideas at their best. Personally, obviously, it won a Hugo, so I'm in the minority. But it's been interesting rereading this and knowing some things and forgetting some other things and trying to piece things together. And it's a struggle buddy reading this with people, because I'm buddy reading this with Matt and Evie, because it's like, I have a lot of thoughts, but none of them I can say until you have finished the book, because all of my thoughts are spoilers. So that's one thing I've picked up, and it's been good when I've had the mental ability to read it. He has a very dense, descriptive writing style, and I just have to be in the mood, which I'm not always in the mood for. Other things I picked up, Blanca y Roja. Hi, I'm having so much fun with this. I'm buddy reading this with Judith, because she's been running the Anna Marie McLemore read-along, and this is the one I decided to jump in on, because it's one that she has recommended to me specifically, and I really like it. It's got some really great dark fairy tale vibes, and like done in a way where it's like a modern setting, but like no cell phones. Like, you don't get the sense of where technology is, but it's modern clothing and school, but also it's a society where people just accept the mystical and the whimsical. Like, it's really cool. I really like that in both this and Dark and Deepest Red that I've read by them. And I'm really liking all the relationships. I think the chemistry between friendships, siblings, and love interests is really compelling. I think the only disservice this book has this week is my mental health has been a pendulum. So I haven't really had the just like sit down and read energy, but I'm reading about like 80 pages of that a day and having a blast. Like, their writing is just so lush and easy for me to read, and I just do, like, I was telling you this, like, I just need every Anna Marie McLemore book to become a Disney movie. Like, that's like the type of vibes I get, like an adult Disney animated movie. Like, I just get those vibes when I read their books, and it's in a good way, like exactly what I needed. And next up, I am reading House of Sky and Breath. I have a post-it note because I'm doing too many things, in case you're wondering. I know normally I don't look at notes for these videos. So I just started this Like, I've only read 40 or 50 pages. I needed this on Monday, but it wasn't out on Monday because that's when my mental health was at its lowest. So when it came out on Tuesday, I was in a good headspace to read Fall of Hyperion, so I didn't pick it up. And so I picked it up today, Wednesday, which is when I filmed these. So I've only read the prologue and the first chapter, maybe the second chapter. And I can't say a lot because it would spoil the first book. But I was wondering how Sarah J. Maas was going to continue making a tension-built, slow burn sort of like romance thing, and I'm just giggling at how she chose to do it. I think it's fine. I'm just like, I didn't expect it, and then of course I'm like, well, of course, because otherwise how are we going to write all the tropes that we like to see in your romance fantasy? So yeah, and the prologue was cool, introduced us to a new setting. I am like curious about it. It definitely pulls from indigenous culture in something that it puts into the magic system, and I don't think it was done wrong, but like there's always the line of appropriation versus appreciation, and like I'm going to be really interested once I finish the book and go find like Own Voices reviewers, like how did they feel about this element and how it was used, because I also don't know how it's going to continue to be used. So far I think it was fine, like it's, but also this is like an actual, I think, thing that people still believe in, that you're just throwing into this story as like a magical element. So like, I don't know, I'm not indigenous, but it did send up like my tiny little like, I wonder if enough research was put into this. I don't know. It's one of the curses of being on the bookish internet. You're more aware of things while you read, which isn't bad. It makes you more critical, which is, it's a good thing, but sometimes you're just, man, I wish that you were ignorant. That's like, sometimes I wish I was. But it is what it is. It's fun. I can already see that I'm going to have a really good time just diving into that later because, like I said, the romantic tension stuff, I see how she set it up, and I'm here for it. I don't know what the plot of this book is going to be, and I don't really care yet. I hope it's interesting just because it's like a 780-page book or something like that. And then the last thing that I'm not currently reading, but I did start, so I thought I'd give my thoughts. I think it's going to temporarily be on pause just because of my brain. I don't think it's the book's fault. But I read the first 60 pages of Engines of Empire, and I immersion read it while physically reading it while listening to the audiobook because it's a full cast audiobook. And it's cool, it's interesting, but nothing gripped me, and there was something about the writing style that, like, I was having issues with. I think there's just a lot of very short sentences, which I like, usually, but I think there are too many of them next to each other. It's just really odd when I read a book and I noticed things like that. Like, that doesn't normally happen. So that was just something, like, the cadence of the sentences has been a little odd for me, and I just think that, like, my brain was just not in a space for it when I picked it up. Like, I was reading that, and then I tried Queen of Blood, and Queen of Blood captured my interest, and Engines of Empire did, but it would have been work, so I'm just gonna hold off on that. Maybe I'll read it later this year. I'll wait for the sequel to come out, and I'll just read them back to back. Like, it's not a series that I'm suddenly, like, not interested in, but it's definitely not one where I'm like, well, this is not even on your TBR. Do you want to squeeze it in? It hasn't met that level for me. And this weekend, I am going to go up to New Hampshire to spend the weekend on a mountain because I desperately need to get out of this apartment. Like, when I say I have not gone outside in a few days, I am not kidding. It's really sad. It's just been so cold, and I have nowhere to go. And getting COVID right before I defend just doesn't seem like, I mean, the cases are really low, but it's just like, why risk it? So we're going to go up to New Hampshire, though, and just chill at my grandparents' house. It's going to be lovely. And so I think the things that I have to read that are still on my TBR that I have, like, obligations for, besides the stuff I'm currently reading, Ancillary Justice, because I believe, not this weekend, but next weekend, we have our book club. And I've read the first chapter of that, and I'm interested, but I just wasn't in the headspace for it this week. And then I need to read the novella that's the March release that my patrons voted for, All the Horses of Iceland. So I think that's all doable. And maybe if I suddenly have great mental health and I'm in the reading mood, I'll read more. But I think all of this is very, like, attainable, and it should be okay. Who knows? Like, my slides are almost done. I just need to practice them and do a little bit of, like, studying, but I just think the limbo is just going to have my mental health be, like, all over the place. And with that said, I am planning on doing, I think, just 2 videos next week and 2 videos the following week, and then get back to 3 videos, unless, like, I suddenly really love doing 2 videos. Next week, I think I'm going to have a tag video and a vlog for when I go to New Hampshire. It's either going to be a vlog or Friday Reads. It'll depend on mental health and stuff. But I think that it's gorgeous up there, so I'll probably film some footage and check in on reading books and stuff like that. And I think the following week we'll just have a TBR and a wrap up, because the following week is my defense, and like I don't even know how to have time to film, and I have people coming into town, and so we're just gonna do the 2 videos a week. And I know everyone watching is like, Angela, we don't care. Do what you want. But I'm just letting you know. This is me telling you. And I have been in a lot of lives lately, so if you end up missing me, like we just did a 2-hour live on Jess's channel about squeakcore, which was a blast, but also squeakcore. And the last thing I'll talk about is Ryan surprised me with the best thing for Valentine's Day. I like offhandedly told him he should buy this for me, and I didn't actually think he would, and I'm a silly person. But he got me the Vanished Birds, and I told you guys this in my review video, but I know not everyone watches review videos, but look at it, it's so pretty. Ah! This is like my first like true new favorite of all time read of the year. February is a bad month for my mental health, but apparently a great month for me finding sci-fi books that I love with all my heart, because last year it was The Best of All Possible Worlds, and this year it's The Vanished Birds. And if you haven't watched that review, I highly recommend watching it. You will not be spoiled. I do not talk about character names or plots, sometimes a little bit themes, and like writing style, but I really do believe this is a book that is really best discovered on your own, but also you should probably know the vibe you're getting into, because this has a very specific vibe. And I'm so happy I have it to put on my shelves. I have no idea where to put it. My shelves are literally Tetris, so it's probably gonna go up top with A Memory Called Empire. I'm so happy. So that's a kind of long Friday reads. Hopefully it was enjoyable. And if you made it this far, I don't know, let me know how you're doing, and it was Valentine's Day week, so leave a heart emoji, your color of choice, or chocolate emoji or heart emoji, because those are the things I associate with the fake holiday of love. And yeah, let me know what you're doing. I'm still watching ice skating. So in case you're wondering about my TV watching, it is still ice skating. And I'm just gonna be happy when we get to pairs, because women's figure skating makes me sad right now. If you know, you know. But like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.